Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Rasbora from Pond Life Aquatics and Tropical Fish London. And in today's video, a mixture of beginner-friendly and slightly harder to keep species that have arrived in Northwest London's biggest and best aquatic centre. Let's get into it. As I mentioned in all of our shop tours, we do things slightly differently here at Pond Life Aquatics. We arrange our fish house continent by continent, and the reason we do that is because it helps people to know where they fish from the wild, which in turn allows them to create biomes and give their fish the absolute best quality of life. Additionally, we have schools in every now and then, and it helps us to show kids where their fish are from, which can only be a good thing. But as you come into our fish room on the left hand side, usually I would start with our live bearers, but we have some beautiful South American and Central American cichlids in this week. In the top tank up here, we have one of my absolute favorite cichlids, and that is the electric blue Acara. Now, electric blue Acaras are interesting because they break that mold that most people have of thinking that cichlids are aggressive. Acaras are a peaceful community cichlid, which makes them excellent for aquariums that are about 200 litres or more. They do need a very good amount of space, and where people want something that's a bit showier, a little bit more vibrant and interactive in their tanks. Acaras previously were known to be a bit of a digging species, as a lot of cichlids are. But as they have become more common in the trade, people have realised that they are not nearly as dangerous for your decor as other cichlid species. So Acara can be kept in beautifully planted aquariums. If you're interested in keeping them, you need about an 150 to 200 litre aquarium. If you want to keep them individually, 150 litres is fine. But if you want a pair or even a triplet, 200 litres is the ideal. Acaras have these amazing blue shimmery bodies, and they are just one of those really boisterous, beautiful fish. They've been known to recognize their owners and will come to the glass and can be interacted with, which makes them so interesting for so many different people to keep. These specimens that we have in are absolutely stunning. They're a really good size for Acara, although they do get much bigger, hence they need a 200 litre aquarium. Acaras can get about 15 centimeters long. However, when you usually find them in stores, they will be a little bit smaller. These guys are around 3 inches at the moment, but they have these beautiful blue bodies with that characteristic orange tint to the top of their bodies. They can be kept with plenty of other species, from Tetras to Rasboras to Corydoras, and you shouldn't really have any issues with them. They are a relatively peaceful cichlid, which makes them great for a community aquarium, unlike some other cichlids. Now, if you want something slightly more aggressive and kind of a bit more classic, if you were thinking about big fish, we have these stunning Firemouth cichlids. Now, Firemouths, again, they need about a 200 to 250 litre plus aquarium to be kept in groups, and these guys are a much more aggressive species. They show off these characteristic territorial moves where they flash the beautiful reds underneath their neckline, and they are just an absolutely fascinating species to watch. These are a real digging species. They will absolutely shift around any planting that you have in the aquarium. So if you are going to keep these guys in a large aquarium, you should think about having them with plants such as Anubias or Java fern that are securely tucked onto hardscape. Additionally, you should have them on a sand base, maybe something like a black sand, so that it can really show off those poppy red colors. And you will get on with them absolutely fine. They're kind of similar in aggression to something like a Jack Dempsey. And if you wanted to keep them with other species, you should be looking at other semi-aggressive tanks where you can keep them in an aggressive community. So things like large tiger barbs will get along fine with them, torpedo barbs, maybe some armored catfish, like this absolutely stunning plec that we have in at the moment. Any kind of aquarium that has those semi-aggressive kind of boisterous species, they'll get along fine with. You can even keep them alongside other things like convict cichlid, which we currently don't have in stock and probably won't keep for a little while. But again, something really classic to keep in a larger aquarium. Now, for those of you who don't have a 200 litre plus aquarium, but have something around 70 litres, then this next fish is perfect for you. That is the Bentosi Tetra or the Ornate Tetra. And I spoke about this in last week's video. They are an absolutely stunning Hyphosbricon species that love to be kept in groups of 6 or more. Their males and females get to a similar size, and the males will develop this really elongated, beautiful fin with that white tip on top, whereas females will have a slightly smaller dorsal fin, but still absolutely beautiful in their own right. If you want to hear a bit more about that, then do check out last week's video. Additionally, in South America, we finally got a restock of our Otocinclus catfish. Now, I've talked about Ottos before on so many occasions. They are one of my absolute favorite little cats. They are a true shoaling algae eating species that should be kept in groups of at least 6 or more. They need a minimum tank size of at least 40 litres. However, I would personally recommend something like a 75 for larger groups, and they are absolutely brilliant little fish. You can often find them stuck to the front of the glass with these beautiful pearly white bellies, and they will help you clean up algae in your tank. But you should always be careful to make sure that you are giving them a good supplementation of algae pellet. Or what I personally like to do with mine at home is use shrimp sticks, which hopefully will be stocking very soon from a new brand that I will be doing a review on. Additionally, in this section that I forgot to highlight last week, we have these beautiful Apistogramma borellii paraguayes. Now, again, these guys are a Apistogramma species, so they absolutely adore planted aquariums. They can become slightly skittish if left in unfurnished aquariums without many hiding spaces, so do make sure that you have plenty of plant cover, a nice selection of bogwood and anything else for them so that they can feel comfortable in their homes. I would recommend Apistogramma for anything like a 60+ litre aquarium, and again, they are an interesting fish to breed in captivity. If you are looking to breed them, then personally I would probably recommend trying to soften your water slightly, maybe with some botanicals or using remineralized RO or rainwater, and you will have a much better chance of being able to breed them, particularly if you are in London. However, if you're up north or in a place that has particularly soft water, you will get on with them absolutely fine, and they will very, very readily breed. Additionally, in this area, we have some more pygmy Corydoras. Now, I won't go on about pygmies all that much because I have spoken about them on numerous occasions in previous videos, and I am working on a species spotlight for pygmy Corydoras in particular, but they are a fascinating, diminutive little Corydoras species, and something that's so interesting about them is that they are one of the only Corydoras species that will happily rest in the midsection of the tank. You can often find them sat on broad leaves resting, and when they shoal, they can very, very often be found in the mid-ground of the tank as opposed to skimming along the bottom like their other cousins. Now, down in Asia, we have some very exciting new arrivals. Now, in this top tank up here, we have some absolutely brilliant new fish, and that is the brilliant Rasbora. These guys are absolutely stunning, and everyone here at Pond Life has really just been taken with them since they came in earlier. They are this absolutely stunning Rasbora species with a black line down their body and these stunning red tails. Now, these are a true shoaling species of Rasbora and need to be kept in groups of 10 or more. They are very active swimmers and therefore need something like a 75 litre to be kept in a sufficient group. They are extraordinarily adaptable and easy to keep, which makes them brilliant beginner fish. And because of their active natures, they will just be interesting for anyone who decides to keep them. Do keep them in planted aquariums to get the absolute best behaviors out of them, and giving them a really good selection of foods is going to be the best way to get those beautiful behaviors of shoaling Rasbora species that everyone absolutely adores. In terms of tank mates, they will go perfectly in pretty much every community aquarium. They are a non-aggressive, non-nippy species, and honestly, I cannot sing their praises enough. They are absolutely beautiful and brilliant fish, but I hate that. And additionally, in this section, although again, I'm not getting on the floor, we got a fresh restock of our Panda Loach. Now, these guys have come in slightly bigger, which allows me to highlight the difference between young Panda Loach and their older counterparts. Young Panda Loach have these very distinctive black and white markings on them, and as they get older, they begin to separate out slightly. Personally, I actually prefer the way the adults look. I think they are absolutely mesmerizing. I love that the black lines on them become almost a little bit smudged, and they have these absolutely beautiful streamlined bodies. To keep these guys effectively, you need to think about where they're from in the world, and that is from rivers in Asia. So they need lots and lots of movement in the water, decent power head, maybe a bubble filter to supplement the amount of oxygen they need. And realistically, you're not going to be able to have a lot of plant in an aquarium like that with the decent amount of flow that these guys need. Think about having rockery with algae growing on it, maybe even something like Java Fern or Anubias attached to those rocks securely that can take the flow. And in terms of tank mates, these guys are absolutely a peaceful species. So they can go with things like Danios, maybe some Hong Kong Plex, which I will be highlighting later, or another species that I'll be talking about in just a moment. Think about creating a river biome. Some fish that enjoy high flow or can at least tolerate it, and giving these guys the absolute beautiful landscapes they need with lots of rocks and hiding spaces, and you should get on with them absolutely fine. Additionally, in this area, we have these absolutely beautiful red belted gobies, which again, another species that I highlighted last week, but I do think is worth touching upon again, because these guys have come in even nicer than the last ones we did. Again, they are a micro predator goby with that slightly tilted up mouth, but with these guys, you can absolutely see those beautiful red colorations coming through. Very similar in requirements to those Panda Loaches I talked about earlier. Think about a 70 litre shallow aquarium with lots of flow hammering through it, with some beautiful rocks with algae growing on them, to make sure that they have those really nice areas that they can graze upon and supplement their feeding with frozen and live food. Additionally, in this area, we got in a fresh stock of honey gourami, which I know it's kind of an oops, I repeated the last week's video, but I do want to highlight how beautiful these guys have come in. One of those species that needs about 40 litres, heavily planted, slow moving waters to get the absolute best out of them. And additionally, we got in some red robin gouramis, which are just a colour morph of their honey cousins. These guys have a deeper red to their bodies, which some people prefer. Personally, I love their golden variants, but you can absolutely see why people love red robin gouramis the way they do. They have these deep red colors to their bodies. They're super active. Again, just give them the exact same thing you would to a golden honey gourami. Lots of planted areas so that they can hide in, with an open space in the center that they can then come out into, that you can see them moving around and feeding and showing off those absolutely beautiful behaviors. They will go great in a lot of peaceful community tanks. Make sure they're not going to be with anything that's going to nip them, so things like tiger barbs aren't recommended, but they can go with peaceful barb species. Things like Pentosi barbs will be absolutely fine, or some of those brilliant Rasboras that I talked about earlier. One of my absolute favorite species for nano tanks. Additionally, in Asia, we got in these absolutely beautiful Burmese sucking loach, or Hong Kong plex, as they are colloquially known, or butterfly plex. And these guys are an absolute favorite in the aquarium trade. Again, one of those river species from Asia that need lots of flow for them to absolutely show off their best behaviors. Now, when we get these guys in, we either get in specific colored spotted ones, or we get in a mixture. And today we got a mix of them. We have these beautiful blue spot tails and red spot tails. And although the light isn't ideal for them down there to show off those colors, you can in the video start to see hints of those colors coming through in their tails. These guys would make absolutely brilliant tank mates. The gobies I mentioned earlier, or those panda loaches that are so cute. Think about giving them a shallow, long aquarium, lots of flow for it, and you are going to get on absolutely fine. That being said, about Hong Kong plex, there is some anecdotal things showing that they have been found in ditches, which means that they don't necessarily need those highly oxygenated spaces that previously a lot of people thought. However, I would not recommend that for most people to try out. Maybe if you were interested in keeping them in a slower moving aquarium with plenty of plants in there to give them something to hide in, I think you would probably get on fine. And I know a few of our customers have had really good success with them in not hammering loads of flow through them, and they do keep them quite successfully in regular community tanks. Additionally, we got in another absolute favorite here at Pond Life Aquatics, some long fin cherry barbs. Now these are again another peaceful barb species that can be kept in a community aquarium. They realistically need something like a 60 litre to be comfortable and should be kept in about groups of 6 or more. The males have this really deep, beautiful red color to their bodies, whereas the females are slightly duller, but personally I think they are stunning in their own right. They will very readily breed in a variety of different tap waters. I know one of our customers who breeds them in a regular London tap, and they get on absolutely fine. Again, just one of those absolutely beautiful community species, ideal for beginners that can go through such a long and diverse range of tank parameters without running into really any issues. I recommend longfin cherries and regular cherries to pretty much everyone if they've never kept fish before, and it's easy to see why. They're absolutely beautiful as a fish species, so interesting, so active, definitely worthwhile keeping. And finally, on this side of Asia, I did want to highlight our platinum Medaka one more time, because it is last call for these ones that we have in. I think we've only got 5 left to sell at this point. So if you were looking to start a breeding colony of platinum Medaka, now is the time to get in contact and come down and get these guys. They are absolutely stunning, and I can't gush enough about them. Definitely one of those species that I'll be talking about more in the future. And now down the end of the aquarium, another species of relatively peaceful barbs. We got in these absolutely beautiful Odessa barbs this week, and we always sell out of our Odessas. They are one of those absolutely beautiful barb species that need to be kept in groups of maybe 6 or more to get those behaviors out of them that everyone loves from barbs, those darting, showing off behaviors between them. and they are a relatively peaceful barb species. They can be happily kept in community tanks in general. Just don't keep them with maybe some long fin varieties, as they might nip slightly, but in general they're very, very peaceful. They can be happily kept with tetras, loads of rasboras. They'll happily go with other peaceful barb species like pentazona barbs or regular cherry barbs with those characteristic stunning red bodies. I can't get enough of these guys, and there are plenty of other people who can't get enough of them either. It's easy to see why people absolutely fall in love with Odessa barbs. They are absolutely one of those gateway fish into keeping a barb-only tank. They are also, I think, a really great alternative barb species for people who love things like tiger barbs but don't have that 200-litre space for them. Odessas really fill that void of having those beautiful barb bodies, those stunning red colorations, without having to deal with the aggressive natures that some barb species have, like tigers, like some rumbo barbs, or torpedoes. Odessas are absolutely one of those species that, if you're looking for something a bit more interesting in a large, peaceful community setting, they are absolutely something that you should consider getting. Now, over on the other side of Asia, not only do we have a beautiful selection of Siamese fighting fish, as we always do here at Pond Life Aquatics, we did get in some really, really nice species this week. Not only do we have a huge selection of different Neocaridina, whether that's whites, oranges, reds, or blue. For those of you who don't know what Neocaridina are, they are just cherry shrimp. They are those beautiful colored little shrimp that most stores stock now. They aren't really rare at all, and they will breed prolifically in pretty much every aquarium that hasn't got predatory fish in them. They are an excellent algae eater, and it's easy to see why they are as popular as they are in the aquarium trade. They're just something a little bit different that offers a real nice burst of color, something that's interesting for an algae eater, as opposed to, although something that I absolutely love, like Amano shrimp, they do offer that pop of color that Amanos just don't offer. I love Neocaridinas. I have them in pretty much all of my aquariums that aren't my Cardina tank, and it's just because I love having them in the tank. They're so interesting to look at. But the thing that I'm most excited about on this side of the aquarium this week are these Burmese spotted Rasbora. I was so excited when I saw these guys on the list this week. They are a diminutive Rasbora species, very similar to CPDs or Celestial Pearl Danios or Galaxy Rasbora, whatever people decide to call them nowadays. But these are a lot less temperamental than your CPDs. If you've ever wanted to keep Celestial Pearls, but you're worried about them sometimes just not getting along well in your aquarium, this is an absolutely excellent alternative. I personally think Burmese spotted Rasbora are one of the most exciting little nano fish. You can keep them. They are a very active shoaling species of Rasbora that should be kept groups of 10 or more, and they're absolutely ideal for a nano aquarium. They're super non-aggressive, but are super, super active. So you will just get to see them all the time. As you can tell from the video I took earlier, these guys are just absolutely stunning. They will go really nicely in pretty much every community tank. However, personally, I would definitely consider setting up a nano tank just for these guys, maybe some pygmy corridors, maybe some rosy loach, something like that. I'm just super excited that they're in. They're native to Burma, but are readily bred in captivity now. And yeah, I just can't stop smiling when I look at them. They are just an absolutely beautiful little Rasbora species, and I'm so excited that we have them in stock. I don't think they're going to be here very long. They're just one of those species that when you look at them, you can't help but fall in love. And I will definitely be sad to see them go, but hopefully now that they are on the lists, they will stay on the lists as opposed to some other species that have just been getting harder and harder to get a hold of. I'll gush about these guys more in weeks when we get them in, and maybe even do a species spotlight on them. I might take some of these guys home. They are just absolutely beautiful. And that's it here from us at Pond Life Aquatics this week. I did just go through and highlight all of the new species that we got it in. I didn't touch on some of the more common Tetras species and some other more common species that I've talked about previously. I did just want to highlight the things that I found really exciting this week, because there is quite a lot of it. I did just want to say thank you to everyone who watched the previous shop tour. We had a really great response to it. Lots of new viewers, so hello to everyone. It's nice to have you here. I do these shop tours at least every other week. I do aquascaping, I do species spotlight videos, and I'm looking at doing more and more diverse content. However, we are a little bit short-staffed at the moment in terms of outwork, so I have just had a lot less time to be in store recently and haven't had time to make as much content as I wanted to. I promise I will keep up with these shop tours. If you're interested in winning an aquarium, we are giving away a 45-litre scaper over on our Instagram page at Pond Life Aquatics. If you're in the London area, enter. You just have to tag 2 friends and follow us over there, and you may be in for a chance to win a completely free aquarium. You do have to be 18 years old or over, and the T's and C's are in our description over on our Instagram page. There's about a week left to enter if you're interested, but aside from that, that's everything from me here at Pond Life Aquatics this week. And I hope you'll join me again next time for this Pond Life.